love God and do as you will, is a maxim that's been popping up recently in a resurgence of neo-Calvinism. It's a sort of mini-creed for 21st century religion. It is reflected in how so many people do what they think best and then assert God's voice as their source. They love God and do as they will. However, unless properly understood, it's bad advice, even if it came from the pen of one as august as Augustine. That doesn't mean it's totally wrong, though. It does contain a seed of truth, but that seed must be planted in a container of clear biblical limitations to make it good. Unfortunately, it's the kind of statement that tends to stand alone, especially for those of us in the Twitter generation who want a belief system that will fit in one tweet. We may think he's saying the same thing Jesus said, that the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, Matthew 22, verse 37. But even with his own limitations, Augustine still left the definition of loving God up to us. It's no wonder our generation loves it. We get to determine what it means to love God. Did Jesus add do as you will or love your neighbor as yourself to help explain the first commandment, Matthew 23, verse 39? He went on to say that all the law and prophets hang on these two commandments, Matthew 23, verse 40. Let's examine Augustine's statement in the light of two biblical examples. The first is King David. In 2 Samuel 7, verses 1 through 7, we're told that the man after God's own heart, the man who loved God with all his heart, was embarrassed to live in a fine palace while the ark of God was housed in a tent. It was his will to build a temple for God. When Nathan the prophet heard David's desire, he said, "Go, do all that is in your mind, for the Lord is with you." That's about as close to love God and do as you will as one can get. But God sent Nathan back to David that very night to tell him, no, you don't get to do what you will. Our second example is Jesus in the garden on the night of his betrayal. Matthew 26, 39 through 44 reveals how that unfolded. There, Jesus asked the Father 3 times to remove the cup of suffering. Each time the answer was no. And because of his love for the Father, Jesus submitted to his will, each time saying, not as I will, but as you will. Now, if David and Jesus didn't get to do as you will, what makes us think we will? But the more important question is, if David and Jesus submitted to God's will we surrender to him too? To paraphrase Augustine's statement, love God and do as he wills. Again, the question is, will we surrender to God's will or do as we will? Well, thank you for watching today's Morning Minutes in the Bible. Until tomorrow, this is James McClenny hoping you have a great day.